Hello everybody, I'm Mr. Roy, your friendly D&T teacher. Today is 17th June, term 3, week 3, week 3. You would have been in school for lower secondary 1 and 2s for your normal lessons this week. So if you have already attended the D&T lessons this week, your subject teachers would have actually covered more like pages 7 onwards. Some classes, they have reached the page on mirror image. Now regardless, it's good news that Singapore is moving into phase 2 of the reopening of the country from 19th June this Friday onwards. So as such, you would still have to remember to put on your face mask when you're out of home and also maintain that 1 meter social distancing. Of course, in this room, there's no one else for this recording, and therefore I can remove the face mask so that you can hear my instructions clearly. On this projection, you can see that we are on page 7, so please turn to page 7, and it's ideation stage C using lines and curves or circles. And we are going to use 3 lines and curves, circles, to generate designs in the leads. Now with the projection, the overhead projector, right, the screen is very bright, and that's why I put down the white screen here. Later on we'll use the whiteboard to explain a little bit about using 3 lines and curves on the whiteboard before we move on to over and shoulder view again. So because if I were to pull out the screen, it would be pretty bright. So just pause it for a while. Alright, I'm back. We have seen that actually I've drawn 2 rectangular grids on the whiteboard. And on page 7, instruction is to use 3 lines and curves circles. So let's use the left side rectangular grid. So if we were to draw the line here, and we will sketch a curve this way, and of course I will use the circle, you will see that I actually satisfied these 3 lines and curves and circles. So likewise, you will hash the unwanted region, and then you will draw the outline by darkening it so that you can see the area that you use for your toy display stand. Now, it will also be good this time round from page 7 onwards to roughly sketch a rectangle within the area that you want to keep for your display stand. This rectangle represents the platform that you will cut out of the acrylic and eventually thermoform. Right? It will form using heat. Now, for some of you a little bit more creative, instead of standard rectangle, you can actually come up with other shapes like so. Alright, so let's try using lines, curves, and circles again. This time round, I'm going to draw larger curves, circles. I probably will cut a straight line across the rectangle. So maybe here, circle, and a curve. Now, in previous lessons, alright, training videos that you watched in week 2, you probably know that you have to pick the larger area of the other. I mean, when you look at the area, for example, here, you obviously will not take this, right? So that is the smaller area that you will discard. So I'm going to use it so that you can see the outline that I'm going to create. So I'm going to start with this, and then over here, and I follow the curved line. I don't go up because there's no material here in real life. So we draw the lines over here, come down, and go straight down. And over here, you can decide to cut up, but if you do so, you basically cannot have this area anymore. So I will just come down here and follow this, and move on and close up. Okay, so I'm going to shape the unwanted region so you can see a little bit clearer. This is the unwanted region. So you basically have this big area here, and of course, come up with a little rectangle so that Hello everybody, this is your friendly D&T teacher, Mr. Loy. As we proceed to page 7, ideation stage C, using lines and curves or circles. As explained this week in class, I've actually demonstrated how you remember to lock your wrist and swing your arm. An example like so. Now remember that it's okay to sketch the circle onto the second rectangular grid, and I'm just going to show you 3 entities here: a straight line, a curve, and a circle. So this is not new from your previous learning, from pages 3 to 6 right up to now. So just run the lines over the area or the each line that you need keep, and for the common understanding, you hash those areas that you do not need, such as this, and also you remember from the previous week's HPL lesson that you try to create an area for your toy display stand somewhere in the central region here, as much space as possible, because you're going to have a platform. Okay, something like a rectangular shape or a square shape to support your toy aeroplane. Now, of course, in the lesson in week 3, right, you would also have heard that I require you to choose one of the 4 designs on page 7. And of course, if you are super enthusiastic, at the back of page 7, another 4. Choose one as well to color, right? So let me just pick any typical color, and of course, as demonstrated, you started off coloring lightly. I repeat, you color lightly. Rationale being, if you started off quite dark, there's no way you can lighten it anymore. Of course, the other way is to use the eraser, but of course for sketching, color rendering, we refrain from using the eraser. So just going to do a quick one, right? It's not fully covered. And I noticed that some students, they find that it's easy to follow the contour. Alright, so they keep changing the direction of their stroke. If you do that, you will see crisscrossing, right? Such as this. And it looks a little bit upward, alright? But it's convenient for you because it's easier for you to just cover the area that you have not colored. So try to refrain from doing that as well. Do your best to go in a single direction stroke, such as this. Okay. Now you also remember in class I reminded you that the reason why you started off using colors, right, as early as page 7, just choose one of the 4 on page 7, and of course one of the other 4 at the back of page 7, and choose a different color to color. Reason being, you can actually kind of like use this example as a test for your final presentation drawing on page 17, I believe, where you have to use colors. So if you started early, you can actually see for yourself which colors you would prefer for page 17, where you present your presentation drawing. Right? So page 7 is basically similar to what you have done in your journal from pages 3 to 6. So we're going to move on to page 8, which we also covered in class this week. Down here is also using lines and curves or circles. However, this time you're going to use 4 or more lines and curves and circles. So just to quickly demonstrate over here, I have a small circle, larger less of a circle. This is more like an ellipse now. And then I do a curve and possibly a straight line across. Okay. Now don't be afraid to cut lines across the central region, as I explained earlier in week 2's home-based learning, that you have to make a decision which area that you're going to keep. So a simple rule of thumb is, let's say between this and this, the first area is a little bit smaller than the second one. So we normally keep the larger area, right? The whole understanding here is we try to keep as large surface for your acrylic as possible. So where you're going to start picking the region, alright? So again, it's also very random. It's up to your preference. So I'm going to start from here. Remember, you're all given 4B pencil, so you can use a 4B pencil to easily darken the H line that you want, like so. So I'm going to pick this curve coming down, and it's going to go back up, right? Because between these two, this is the larger area, so you keep this, and then of course you forgo this. Now if you have decided to forgo that smaller area, you just hash the lines. Then of course you can't use this curve because it's ended here, you have to bring it down. Alright? Of course you can't close up here, it looks very funny. Alright? So you have to continue downwards and keep this curve. Now if you were to go up here, alright, then something is wrong over here, right? So you can't. So of course, no choice. So for this straight line, you only use this portion of that straight line. Okay, it's okay. So I've actually demonstrated two curves, one straight line and one circle. So that's the 4 lines and circles or curves. So continue with page 8, the remaining 3. And of course, I always like to repeat, very overzealous, enthusiastic D&T students sketch another 4 rectangles at the back of page 8 and come up with 8 amazing, unique ideas. And last but not least, down here on page 8, you have the student's reflection. Similarly, you are going to write in your personal response for your experience working on page 7 and 8. So just to give you a quick reminder, some question cues such as what went well, right, during your sketching experience, what did not go well. You can also choose to answer how would you do it differently the next time. Right? Now, just a general reminder for page 8 as well, pick another color which is likely what you will choose. And of course, over here I only done the first figure here, so of course you do the coloring as well. Now I repeat, you don't have to color all the ideas that you created, just one per page, and use a different color so that you can actually compare and contrast and make a final decision as to which colors you will choose for your page 17 presentation drawing. Okay, like so. Now of course, if you want to create a little bit more of a toning effect, you may want to apply a little harder pressure and run over the area again, so you can see now that it is darker. Alright? Now we are not going to contend with where the light source is at this point in time, because at this stage you are trying to play the colors to see which will be your favorite one or two to choose eventually. Alright? So that is it. Of course, this time round for pages 7 and 8, you may need to highlight, alright, just simple lines, roughly where the platform will be created, somewhere in the central region. Okay, you can actually come up with a square, a rectangle, and in class I would have demonstrated maybe something less rigid. Okay, it could be a little bit semicircle on the top, or it can entirely be a circle. Alright, and I'm actually very eager to find out how we're going to cut out a circle for your platform. So I end or pause here for now. Alright, hello again, I'm back. This is page 9, Shapes of Singapore. Our theme is SG United Toy Display Stand, right? So you can't run away from the fact from identifying and knowing some of our iconic representations for our country, such as the state flag, the Singapore flyer, the Mass Rapid Transit train, the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, Singapore Met itself, the insignia, the Art Science Museum at Marina Bay, the good old Toa Payoh, alright, Dragon Playground, the Super Tree at Gardens by the Bay, and of course our very famous Merlion. So over here in class, I would have demonstrated to you how we combine two general shapes that represent Singapore, alright, on one rectangular template. So here we go. Ideation stage D. We're going to use shapes of Singapore from page 9. Use one or part of the shape shown on page 9 to generate ideas. You may include lines, circles, curves to generate shapes of Singapore as well. So what we're going to do is in class, alright, probably I'm just going to demonstrate using the super tree. And instead of drawing it the usual upright way, I tilt it across. That means I make it slanted. And of course, you can always sketch beyond. So this part here is the trunk part, alright? So this is the canopy. So basically, this is one shape already, somewhere like that. Okay, it's very arbitrary, very random. Then the next one, I probably pick, remember here it says part of the shape also can, alright? You don't have to pick the whole shape. So maybe the fishtail part of the Merlion here, right? So just this portion here. And where are you going to put it? Probably here, alright? Try my best to kind of like come up with the shape. And here it goes, this way. Alright, it goes this way, to a circle here. Now this is only part of the tail of the Merlion, right? So as you can see here, how am I going to define the area that I need? So again, there's no hard and fast rule. You just pick where you like the area to be, okay? So for example, I'm going to start off with, let's say, this portion. So I'm going to keep this part. Alright, and of course I have no material beyond that, so I'm just going to follow here. And because I have a circle here, right, so I'm going to just take that part here and it goes round. It's not going to be a complete closed loop, and then it goes here. Now you have to make a decision here whether to proceed down and then close up from here so that you have more material here, or you're going to come right up here, and if you close up this way, you only have this little bit of material left. So you have to do a little bit of forward planning and decide, right? You make the decision. Now, of course, no one is stopping you from creating or including lines, circles, and curves, kind of like to bail you out. You know, you're like stuck here, wow, a lot of material lost here. So what you do? So I give you a quick way out is to, let's say, shape a curve here. Right? This is a curve. You included another curve. Right? So there's no wrong adding in whatever ingredients you like this time round for page 10. So down here, you will go up and follow the profile down. And of course, this thing is going to go all the way here, and there's nothing there, so we'll go all the way up. Remember the canopy? So it has a little bit of a curve here. And I'm not going to come down here, I just want to keep the material. Okay, so down here you will see kind of a very interesting, unique shape that you've created. This is the part that you don't need, so you shape away. Okay, so when you hash the unwanted area, you can actually see the remaining surface area that you need for your toy display. So this is really, really interesting because we use shapes that, or the outline of shapes that we know of about Singapore. So you don't have to combine two different shapes. You can just keep one. Alright, I'll show you one standard one. this is our Changi Airport Terminal 1 control tower, which has already stopped operation. Alright, I'm going to be a little bit more creative. I'm going to create 2 tiers here. And of course, this is where the elevator brings the former employees up and for their work, alright, in aviation and directing air traffic. So of course, it's already decommissioned 11 years back. This is how our iconic control tower looks like. Okay, and all these glass are very, very significant. Okay, so of course, if you want, you can actually add in the details here, but I don't foresee that there's a need to make use of them. Okay, so if you were to come up with just one shape that represents Singapore, the control tower here, is very standard. Alright, this is the shape already. There's nothing much you can do for your toy display stand, and of course you realize that there's very minimal central area for you to create the platform. So this is a standard visual shape, but it may not be practical. Okay, so in the previous lessons you have heard about very interesting, very nice, very unique shape as well, but may not be practical as well. Okay, so just bear in mind to see if you can keep as much material as possible in your central region here. Now for page 10, you are required to provide your personal response in the student's reflection box as well. So just use those question cues, alright, what went well, what did not go well, what will you do differently, and write in your thoughts here. Again, the challenge to you, alright, my grid challenge to you is to create more shapes by sketching 4 more rectangular grids here. And of course, I'm going to proceed on to page 11, the development using what we call mirror image. So see you in a while. Hello again, Mr. Loy, your friendly D&D teacher here. Before we move on to page 11, for 1-3 in class, right, you saw me demonstrate this page on this page 7, alright? And of course, I actually showed you how coloring was done then. But of course, not to forget, the first thing that you need to check with your set of color pencils, right, is that it has to be sharpened. If it's not sharp or blunt, alright, you can't really go through the fine corners and the edge. Alright, so that's just a simple piece of advice. So make sure you sharpen your color pencils as well. Now for page 11, we are going to further develop your ideas. This time round, you are going to pick and choose 4 designs for page 11. Because down here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is from ideation stage A to D, and form a mirror image on the following templates. So just to remind all that your stage A started from page 3, like so. Of course, do the back as well. Alright, so you can pick stage A, maybe one of this from the 8, as well as page 4 on the back. So page 3, the back of page 3, page 4, and the back of page 4, pick one. Alright, and then you transfer it over here. Okay, so I'm going to show you possibly the easier one so that you can move on. This one. Okay, so I'm going to choose this and I'm going to repeat it over here. How? So imagine that this rectangle now is shrunk, okay, to this bit here. Alright, so I'm going to go slow and show you. You can actually replicate the straight lines that you have. Okay, so for example, this point to this point roughly. So that means it's from this point here to now over here. So you just sketch that line lightly. Okay. And then over here all the way, but not all the way to, right down the corner here, but up to here. Okay, so it's about here, right, this point. So what you can do is you just shape the line first to help you visually capture what you have done. And of course, this is the second straight line that we have sketched. So you can just run the line through Now over here you can see it doesn't cut across to the line of the brick here, right? So it doesn't cut across here, it cuts actually here, just this bit here, right, up to here. Then a little bit here, the horizontal portion, and of course last but not least, the third straight line which cuts upwards this way, somewhere there. Okay, so you just kind of like, no need to be very exact, no need to use ruler to measure, right? This is all freehand sketches, and to bring out the effect you will have to use a 4B pencil. So this is the first transfer from one of your chosen idea from stage A. Now this is the next step that you need to do, alright? To mirror the image, obviously, probably in your science, you'll place a mirror here and you see what happens, right? It's inverted image, laterally inverted. So your left becomes right, your right becomes left, and so on. So down here, what you do is you just need to identify the position. Like here, of course, on the opposite side is somewhere here. So because of this point, you are able to draw the opposite image like so. And then of course you continue this way. And when it comes down, it ends here, right? So across, you can actually have a light line across to kind of like gauge where you will stop. Then you run the lines again. Alright, remember to lock your wrist and swing your arm. Then what happens down here? Alright, of course, you have to know where you stop. It's over here, so you need to come down somewhere to this point here, right? This point here. And a little bit of horizontal, and of course it joins up here. Okay, I'm going to use the 4B pencil to darken the H line to show you the mirror image now. Alright. Like so. Now this is a practical generated idea, right? This is called the mirror image technique. Why so? Because the central area here, almost a lot of material is kept intact here. So your platform can be slightly larger for your toy aeroplane. Of course, likewise, don't forget to hash the unwanted region so that you create the effect that you can see clearer, like so. Okay, so this is possibly a practical design. Of course, our human eyes tend to look for symmetry objects, right? So this is an example of a good balance idea. Of course, you can select one more from stage B. And of course, what is stage B? So you have to turn the page back. Earlier on, I believe is page 5 and 6. This is stage B, which involves just curves or circles. So down here, page 5, at the back of page 5, page 6, right? It's still stage B, at the back of page 6. So you do one here, right? And then of course, we try one shape that you choose from stage C. Stage C was last week's week 3 lesson where we meet physically, right, in class. So this is the one, right? So of course it spans across the back of page 7, page 8, the back of page 8, so it's over here. Last but not least, this last template here, you choose one from stage D, which is after page 9, one of these. Okay? Of course, if you are a very enthusiastic student, one of these from the back, if you have no choice over here. Okay, so continue this as your homework in term 3, week 4, home-based learning. And don't forget to conclude by filling out the student's reflection on page 11 as well. So we will stop here. Alright, when you come back in week 5, everyone comes back. Right, we are going to look at 3D sketching. So this is Mr. Loy signing off. See you soon.